All right, we've got an unboxing to do. Oh, what do we got here? Pop that up here. Something here from Microsoft. And oh my, who's this?
Oh, hey, Daryl. Hey, everybody. Hope I didn't scare anybody that just saw this.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's check all this out. This is Jeremy Chapman, everyone. I'm holding Jeremy Chapman, the floating head of Jeremy Chapman. So we're going to be checking out, what is it, Facilitator? Microsoft Facilitator and Microsoft Teams?
Yeah, let's do it. Obviously, Copilot in Microsoft Teams is a big deal, and Facilitator is going to make note-taking and those different tasks a lot easier as well.
Yeah, okay. So we'll pop you here on the stand because it just feels a bit odd holding your head the whole time. Let's just turn on my camera here. That'll work. Very good. Look, Jeremy, Facilitator is relatively new. It was at some point called Copilot for meetings or Copilot for Teams. So we're used to hearing names and things changing. What we're going to do in this meeting and across a couple of different recordings is actually unbox Facilitator to try and take a look at, what does it do? We've got a few questions that we want to ask. I have got some meeting notes prepared. So the cool thing about this is we're using the product to show the product. What do you think about that?
Nice. So it's going to be able to act as facilitator and kind of go through what we're talking through on the notes that you've got here, right?
That's the idea. We might come across some unusual snags as we do this, but at least it'll be an honest look and walkthrough as well.
It's all
Later
about
on,
authenticity.
exactly. Right, so we do have meeting notes that I've added. How do we get to this point at least? So I'll just step you through that because, how do we add this to a meeting and make it available for us to use right here? Later, I'll also take us through just a few things that I did to turn it on in my environment and what needs to happen in the background for that too. So before we get started with actually turning Facilitator on, let's switch on over to a calendar and we'll jump in and maybe just act like we're creating a new meeting. So with Facilitator available in my tenant, this is what I'm going to see, Jeremy, is this new switch to turn on generated notes. That's kind of cool. So let's just pop in a meeting. All right, so Jeremy, I've added this meeting, creating this meeting. This is how we add the AI generated notes to a meeting. When it's turned on, when Facilitator is turned on my tenant, I have this new choice here and I can switch that on. Now, you see what happened there? I turned on the switch and it also added the meeting notes together here at the bottom.
Nice. And it's all loop powered. It's kind of a nice page of notes.
Yep, that's right. So it looks like I can just add meeting notes with loop on its own, or I can do that together. Now we've got all this already set up in the meeting we're currently using, so I'm just going to close this and get back to that one. Cool, we're back. All right, so that's how we got Facilitator prepared and ready for a meeting. It looks like something else that's indicating that it's all ready to go and to use is the little AI stars that I can use to turn it on. Now at the moment we are actually recording this meeting, Jeremy, in a traditional sense, but it isn't actually using the AI generated notes yet.
Okay.
So I think what I can do here, that's it. So we've got a little pop-up that I can turn on those AI generated notes. I think what I want to do to try this out to begin with is actually, we'll go into, I don't know, Copilot? No? Okay, so Copilot's just going to allow me to ask questions about the meeting as it is now. And I know that the transcription is running. Cool. So those are all critical things, not just for Copilot, but all ready to go for the Facilitator notes. Okay. So I think that's kind of interesting, Jeremy, that even though I've got everything switched on, there's still a deliberate choice to say, sure, we're recording the meeting, the transcription is going, Copilot can answer questions, but I still haven't yet turned on those facilitator notes to be created. All right, well,
then it's kind of, these are all opt-in choices just to make sure that you're aware of what's going on and what's happening. And, like you said, even though you've turned it on kind of in the meeting setup, it's something that you'll want to make sure is running so that you're not surprised basically when you get into the meeting.
Exactly. Perhaps after this and outside of this recording, what I might try is triggering off the AI notes without hitting record, and we'll report back and say what actually happens. But that's interesting. We've got it switched on now. So, I mean, at a first glance, apart from knowing that it's running, and I think that there's a little icon here that just shows the stars over the top of the Notes tab.
Well, and you also see a facilitator
happening.
Participant in the tiles of participants view on the meeting itself. So it's actually like another member of the meeting.
You're seeing that?
I can see facilitator with the hexagon to show that it's a bot inside of Microsoft Teams on my side.
Maybe it's in chat. Oh, there it is. So it's in chat. So it's like, yeah, it's tracking that. So that's cool. Yeah, I would like to see. So in your participants panel, are you seeing facilitator there?
Yeah, let me give you a screenshot so you can see what it looks like on my side. Of course, I got a screenshot with my eyes shut, which is always awesome. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so if you open up chat and you look at the image that I just shared, it'll come over in just a sec. You'll see that I actually see as a participant facilitator right up top dead center.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, that's cool. So yeah, that's good for you as a guest, because then you're really clear that there is AI listening and taking notes, and it's pretty clear. Okay, very good. Whereas my view of that as the meeting organizer, when I go into the people panel, I know that facilitator is running because I turned it on. Okay, well that's good enough.
Right.
All right, back to our notes. How are we tracking? Oh, look at that. All my agenda items are no longer checkboxes, so we'll just have to buy that. Right. So what I want to do now, Jeremy, you showed me what you see as a guest. You're not seeing the meeting notes panel, are you, in the kind of traditional loop meeting note sense?
It says that I don't have access to meeting notes on my end right now, joining with the tenant that I'm in. Yeah,
I expect that. Okay. So later on, we'll get you to join using an account from my tenant, but that's good to know. And yet you're still told that facilitator is listening and taking notes. So that's a nice ethical way of approaching that. Right. What we'll do now is we'll just talk a little about the need for meeting notes, and what is this need trying to fill? Because what I want to see is we're still not seeing any activity here necessarily. Oh, actually, there it is. We'll circle back to that. We'll just talk a little about the need for meeting notes and what this is for and how facilitator helps. And then we'll start talking about what kind of notes the facilitator is taking. So and have used the meeting notes feature for some time in meetings and Teams. How are you finding using it? Do you build a pattern around using it reasonably frequently?
I use it all the time. Like it literally, and ever since transcripts, by the way, were a thing, I've been using that since day one, basically. And now this makes it even easier in order to kind of bubble up that. And if you still need to dig through the transcripts and find specific, words that were spoken or things, that's always there. But yes, this is one of my favorite features and capabilities with Copilot in general. And it's kind of one of those no-brainer things. It's kind of like, for me, no-brainers are Teams with Copilot and probably coding or scripting with Copilot. These are things that I use all the time. Yeah, definitely. I still find it quite useful to take my own notes alongside even AI taking notes for me. So while I might turn on Copilot, or maybe I've got Teams Premium, it's going to give me a nice AI notes wrap up at the end.
there's still things that I want to note that will call out to me. Here's some things that I should be thinking about, or things that I should follow up and do. And I guess it's nice to be able to get it to the end of that meeting and compare notes with the AI notes.
Or edit the notes that the AI generates in order to get the, what you want out of it. So in other words, if there are some certain things that you thought should be bubbled up to the top or that were important for you, for example, then you can add that to what the AI actually was able to see effectively through the soundtrack and also any shared content as well.
Yeah, yeah. So the thing about AI notes up until this point is that it was something that happened after the fact, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like we would have to wait for the AI notes to be generated. Sometimes that might take 20 to 30 minutes. And as a consultant, if I'm trying to do some follow-up after a meeting, quickly get the notes back to a client, I want to do that while it's all fresh in my head. And sometimes I found that I would go, okay, the AI notes are not available yet. I'll come back to it a bit later, and sometimes I forget. At least they're there, but I do have to break that flow. Whereas I think what we might see here with Facilitator is that those same notes that might have been taken in AI notes are being added to the loop-powered meeting notes.
Right, and this is kind of one of those orchestration things and token things as well. So I'm kind of a generative AI nerd myself, but basically when you have a long meeting, whether it's 30, 60 minutes or longer, it's got to basically chunk out various sections of that meeting in order to process each chunk. So what you're seeing here with kind of the real-time notes is effectively it's instead of chunking after the fact, it's doing it real time so that you can have maybe 5-minute blocks or whatever would make sense for that one specific kind of token limit for that one prompt. So that way you're able to get those results more or less in real time because it's chunking in real time those different sections of the meeting.
Oh, that totally makes sense. So what we saw appear here was probably the first 5 minutes of the recording after we turned Facilitator on. And I don't know if we've been talking about the need for meeting notes for 5 minutes or more yet, but maybe we'll see. Let's see. Actually, this is something we can do too, Jeremy. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and if you think about it, like on a 60-minute meeting, after the fact, and why the processing takes a while, it's because the orchestrator does have to do all those processes to break it down into smaller parts.
Yeah.
Do the summarization, take all the different summarizations themselves, and then kind of consolidate that, and then give you back a completion or a response that kind of matches up all the different individual parts, so it makes sense as one kind of contiguous meeting.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. So maybe, I think we're going to get another chunk of notes appear shortly, but just taking a quick look now at the notes. So this is picked up on some things that we said shortly after we'd started using Facilitator. We're discussing the new teams, we're demonstrating AI. And each of these notes, I can tell they're from Facilitator because of the star, because of the little annotation. But I think the other thing too is, and this is something you see in Microsoft Loop, is you can click into a word or anywhere in that text, and I can see the attribution of who made this note.
Mm-hmm.
So I could change this word from discussed to maybe talked about. And
that's the editability, like we were saying earlier when you said you could create your own notes still manually, and then you look at these two. The editability here is pretty powerful because you're basically able to, on the fly, real time, edit what the assumptions are and kind of what the observations are in terms of Copilot.
Yeah, I quite like that. It looks like we'll be coming up soon to I think maybe if it's chunking every 5 minutes, another period where we'll see some notes added. Oh, there it is. It's just at the bottom.
Yeah, there it
goes.
That's
kind of cool.
You're kind of viewing the orchestration in real time as it's taking sections of the meeting, rationalizing those, and then giving back the completion as to what's happened since the last one.
Yeah, the cursor was quite colorful too, where I might get like a bland maroon or blue. It was very, flamboyantly Copilot, so very nice. I noticed too, like when it is chunking, it's just giving us 3 bullet points. So do you think that's token related as well, that it's just giving us
it could be
3
part
bullets?
It could be part of how the instructions are built for that specific function and kind of what was talked about. I don't know if that's something that would be like always the case, but If you
Yeah.
watch, by the way, our show that we just did with Pablo Castro, who has taught me almost everything about generative AI, he's basically we go through like how the chunking process works for vector search, and it's kind of similar to this in the sense that it breaks up like longer documents, longer files into what are called documents. Those are each the chunks that are created for vectors, and then those vectors are the things that you would search for using semantic search. And so it's not quite the same process here, but that breaking down of longer text is something that is used pretty frequently from a generative AI standpoint.
Yeah, 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 makes sense. So that we're not waiting too long for the useful results as well to come out.
Yep.
Okay, well, we've certainly talked a bit about Facilitator, seen it in action, and it's going to continue to take notes as we go. Um, so what we'll do now, I think, Jeremy, is I want to see what it looks like and get your take if you were joining as a attendee from my organization. So we're going to pause here, and Jeremy is going to leave and join the meeting using a Modern Work Mentor account.
Sounds good. I'll see you on the other side.
Welcome back, Jeremy. Looks like you're now on the Modern Work Mentor tenant.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to be part of the team.
Yeah, great. So you should be seeing something different now, I think. As a attendee from within my organization, you seen the meeting notes there?
I am, yes. So I can just a couple of things. So I can see the facilitator again as another member of the call effectively in the top dead center, like I did from an external tenant perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can see the meeting notes and I can see everything that's kind of getting automatically generated in real time. And I can see all of the Copilot controls as well.
Cool. Do you wanna share
These
your
sparkles.
screen and just see if we can step through what you see?
Yeah, let me do that. All right, so now we're
Perfect.
sharing the screen, and here you can see kind of the different agenda items, everything that you've been kind of editing, I think, prior to the meeting, kind of real time, and then the different chunks of kind of, I would say, recaps of different things that we've talked about, and
Mm.
kind of what we're doing around. I even talked about the different AI generation, and then the technical issues that I was
Yeah.
facing trying to get my camera to feed through, going through the browser. I'm on the Rich client, by the way, if anyone's wondering. Signed in now to your account, but we got everything working, and this is all real life. This is authentic.
It's fantastic. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's an unboxing, so that's what it's all about. Really good though to see that. I mean, I haven't assigned a Copilot license, a Microsoft 365 Copilot license to the account you're using.
Right.
I've added Facilitator to this meeting. I've added meeting notes, and yet we can both benefit from Facilitator being part of this meeting.
Yeah. So like in the same way, I can give feedback. I can also kind of in the same way edit stuff if I want to, if I want to change text. So that way I have the ability to kind of see what you're seeing and,
Mm.
get the same types of attributions and same type of information that you're getting in terms of, where the information's coming from and live edits, which I think is perfect. And here you can see it says AI generated on this modal that popped up. So you know like who actually wrote those specific notes and that different text.
Very cool. What I'll do, Jeremy, is I'll take back control and share my screen. I just want to see if we can take some notes together, and maybe or maybe not, Facilitator will join in with us. So I'll share my
Okay,
screen, and we're going to bring up a Microsoft Mechanics video um,
sounds good.
to take notes together.
Is it the one with CJ with agents in SharePoint?
Yeah, it will be. It will be. Here we
I
go.
had a feeling.
So we'll get ready to take our notes. I'll jump on down here. Might take them underneath the technical issues. So if you can join me there as well. So this is
Sounds good.
click AI agents. That'll be our title. H2 sounds good. Cool. All right. Let's play CJ. And we'll go back to just the start of that section, how to create an agent.
day. Let me show you just how easy it is to create one. My team writes product specifications for Contoso Energy's solar panel arrays. In SharePoint, all I have to do is select the folders or individual files that I want this agent to focus on. Here, I have files that have already been uploaded. You can also upload new files where SharePoint will index those files for you in a few moments. I'll select all of these product specifications. On top of the screen, you can see the Create an Agent control. I'll click that. And with just one click, the agent is ready and grounded with all my selected files. And I can try it right from here. So I'll prompt it with, compare each solar panel array with details on the home range in square feet for the 2 types of materials offered. Add the average home square footage per array size and price ranges for each. And it gives me all the details across the files that I added as grounding information. So it's generated a response by panel array type and home square footage. And I can let my agent reason over that information too. For example, if I'm new to the team and am looking for a product recommendation based on the size of a house, I'll use, my customer has a 2,900 square foot home and wants the most efficient solar panel type and the right size solar panel array. What do you recommend? And here, it recommends a specific panel array based on the home size and tells me what panel type is most efficient with more detail. So let's rewind what we saw because I want to point out a few things. First,
I'll let you finish your note there, Jeremy.
Yeah, I was just writing an important note, which is if you are like freshly uploading, because I get a lot of people that use things like Power Automate or want to script operations like this, where you might be wanting to actually populate that SharePoint site in real time, then run the agent against it. You do have to let it have some time to basically index that content and chunk it and vectorize it, kind of like our previous discussion, so that it's part of the semantic search and can actually be used as grounding information effectively for Copilot for the agent.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. It doesn't seem that we hit it in a cadence where AI was taking notes with us. So this is one thing I did want to explore before the unboxing, not knowing how frequently Facilitator takes notes. But we experienced this just now. You and I were taking notes together collaboratively, like we were watching a meeting. And we were, in one sense, we're taking notes together, but we're also sort of stepping over each other in the co-authoring experience. How did you find that?
I think, well, the thing that's nice with with Loop in general and the underlying technologies, it is showing the notes in real time. I would say part of the reason why we were, say, describing the same step of creating the agent is it might have scrolled past my bullet on your page, but it is as Derek likes to say, freaky fast in terms of the synchronization. Even though you're in New Zealand, which is basically almost halfway around the world, probably a third of the way around the world from me. So it's really quick in terms of its ability to do co-authoring and kind of reflect the different changes from both sides for your edits and my edits. It's just there's not as much kind of horizontal screen real estate here to where it's probably easy to scroll past our bullets.
Yeah, and I think for those who don't know this already too, because it's Loop, and if you did want a bit more real estate, a couple of ways you could do this. You could open up the meeting invite and actually see that there in the notes. But there has been added here this open in browser, which I don't know where that might open. Let's just see if we can do this safely. Cool. All right, so ignore the something went wrong, but what it has done is it's opened up the meeting notes in that full screen experience. And if you did prefer to have that over on another monitor, I'm the same, Jeremy. I want a bit more real estate. I don't want to feel like I'm cramped. Then I can do that as well. So we'll circle back to that a bit later. But one benefit of having those notes there in the panel, if you're being quite brief, is that I still am looking relatively in your direction, whereas if I was turning over here, it might be a little less engaging with someone.
Right.
All right.
I haven't seen an update yet, though, on Facilitator in terms of its next its next bit.
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting. It has been adding everything under, I guess, topics, and that it's determined that we were talking about Microsoft Teams Facilitator. So it's added a bunch of bullets there.
Oh,
It's added.
actually, these last two, ability to take notes together in real time with that was new. That was from the last update. The last ones above the technical issues.
Oh, just above the technical issues here.
Yeah,
Assigned
maybe those
Copilot
last two or
license.
three.
Yeah, perhaps.
Hmm.
Oh, interesting. So it's adding things to the topic, the heading of facilitator, and just adding them in a slightly different order. Oh, and then this is new too, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, and then that's
AI.
new too. That's brand new. Yep.
Yeah. So it's created two new topics because we started talking about AI agent creation while we were watching CJ taking her own notes, and then we talked about real-time co-authoring. So I
Hmm.
like this. This is Facilitator actually recognizing there are different topics, adding bullets to it, and taking effective notes. Of course, because it's collaborative, we can go in and we can change that as we need to. There's something else I want to try here, Jeremy, which again might take a little while to come through on the next chunk that arrives. Um, is there a follow-up task that you might have for me that you would want me to do at the end of this meeting?
Yeah, maybe we want to review kind of the output of everything that you're creating, generating that you can send to me to look at, and have a look and see if I can help make it better, or find anything that might need to be addressed or fixed or whatever.
Okay, well, let's see if AI picks up on that one. I'll come up with another task as well, and I'll actually explicitly call out, "Hey, Copilot, get back to Jeremy about reviewing this recording and getting his approval." So we'll see if it adds those as tasks somewhere. I would hope that it adds them in the follow-up task section down the bottom. Maybe we'll see that in a few minutes' time.
And I think it is
Um,
helpful that you did structure your feedback, yeah, verbally, and with the transcript effectively to call it out as a task. So
yeah, yeah.
if you say like, okay, you're responsible, Daryl, for doing the edits on this video and making all that. Jeremy will do the review of those different edits and kind of the rough cut of this video, and then Daryl will reassemble everything with the review to create the final product. That might give us like a three-pronged set of tasks then at the end.
Yeah, well, we should have a bit of task language there now, so we'll see how much
Yeah.
it chooses and what it adds as tasks. Okay. Um, just lastly, before I guess I wanted to check and see it. It's not really as facilitator. It's not like going through the agenda and checking those items off necessarily. There was one thing that I thought maybe facilitator might keep us on track, and that it could listen and say, "You're talking about this topic, okay, tick. You talked about that topic, okay, tick." We're not quite there yet with facilitator. When I say yet, it's just brand new. But that'd be interesting to see if it goes in that direction with facilitating the meeting, keeping us on track and calling out whether we're taking too long on a certain topic.
Oh, I see. So it's basically managing the agenda and saying, oh, you've talked about these different items, and maybe even reminding you if there's some agenda items that you've skipped or something. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. I think it is, they were checklist items before, and I know that when you set an agenda in the meeting notes, that
Hmm.
one practice is that you could go like comma and then we do introductions for 2 minutes. That's just plain text. There's nothing there that's actually functionally keeping us on track. It's an indication. But yeah, it
Yeah.
would be interesting to see Facilitator do something like that. That's cool. Now, I think, Jeremy, what I will do is we'll stop and take a quick look at what it takes to get this set up in our environment.
Okay.
I'll end the meeting here, and you can join me over on Restream. And what we'll do is sort of talk about some of those things that we see on screen. And what will happen in the background is we'll be able to check and see moments later as to whether the AI notes that pulls together we'll compare with what we've currently got. Before
Yeah.
we do that, let's just have a quick look down and see if there's anything
Looks like I
that's
just
been
got a
added.
refresh
Oh,
on my side as well with tasks.
yeah. Yes, me too. Me too. Well, it's all live, so it should be the same.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
it's added some content, some more content to what we were talking about, and
And it has
how
it's added
Facilitator
the task
works.
flow with the assignee and the due date and all of that stuff, which I think is pretty sweet as well in terms of starting to compile those things together.
Yeah. So it actually did help for me to call out, "Hey, Copilot," and then talk about it in task language. It didn't pick up on your inference type language as you talked about a task for me. And I see what's kind of interesting here, Jeremy, is that it isn't actually a task yet. There's this little pop-up that says sync or start on edit. It's as if I have to do something to actually add it. Oh, I see. There's a plus sign, and I can accept the task to sync it to Planner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Well, I'll try that anyway and see what happens. So it turns that into a checklist. Looks like I need to still assign that, so I'll just do that. And we didn't talk about due dates or anything, but that's something to check
But
and try it
it's
later.
pretty cool that the workflow started just from as a verbal entry to add the task with our talk track, and so then it
Yeah.
kind of recognized that and added that as follow-up tasks that you could cement into real task language effectively with due dates and everything, and assigned
Yeah.
people on it.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, we'll stop the meeting here. Join me over on Restream, and we'll talk a little about how things are set up in the background. See you there.
Okay, sounds good. I'll see you on the third side.
Okay, welcome back, Jeremy. We are going to take a quick look at how this is set up in my environment. I know there are a few things to get Facilitator working. Now, first thing that I have read and seen is you have to have at least a Microsoft 365 Copilot license. So that's important, and that's enabled in your environment. If you Facilitator makes use of Microsoft Loop and the meeting notes, so you need to have that all enabled in your environment as well.
Right.
So it's going to take those notes in there. But the key piece here that is probably new for those who haven't looked at yet is setting up Facilitator in Microsoft Teams. And what I found surprising here, Jeremy, was it's treated as a separate application that you need to add into your environment and provide policy permissions.
And for me, at least in my demo tenant, it was kind of pre-configured and on by default, so it wasn't something I looked for it to make sure that it was there and that I could see it. It kind of shows up like you said, like a Teams app or Teams message extension type experience where you can decide to disable it. But for my tenant, at least, it was enabled by default.
And that's what I saw too. So we'll have a quick look at that because it was on by default. Let's just go into my M365 tenant and go into Teams. All right, so we're here in the Teams Admin Center. Okay, and where we look for a Facilitator, it is a Teams app. And we're going to Manage Apps and search for Facilitator. And there it is.
There it is.
Oh, and look, it even uses the same icon that you saw as an attendee in the participants panel.
Right, and
Okay.
that hexagon's kind of a consistent one to show the different bots or AI agents in Microsoft Teams, but obviously the shape of the icon is different in the store versus inside the Teams experience.
It kind of gives me Contoso drone company vibes.
Yeah, I've used that a lot. The Contoso Electronics, kind of the Mark V.
That's the one. That's the one.
Yes.
So like you described, it was also on by default. The app was there, available to everyone. and it just means that I guess I could go in here and maybe only make it available to certain groups of people, editing the availability and policing that with security groups.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got different permissions that it is allowed to use. Underneath settings, nothing specifically for that. And not sure, I mean, I haven't had to have a close look in Teams apps in terms of its security and compliance, but is this something that it's really just saying that this app does, it is publisher attested and that it is certified for use with Microsoft 365?
Yeah, and it's the nice thing is because it's using all the kind of internal and Copilot components, everything's auditable like it would be for any Teams meeting chat. Everything's stored in a way that you can use. You can find it in e-discovery, communication compliance, through audit logs, etc. And the good thing here, and I think something that from just a benefit of using Copilot in Teams is like if you do want to summarize a meeting, you've got a couple of options. Obviously, you don't need with Teams and the way Copilot's configured, you don't need to move your meeting transcript out of Teams and say put it in a third party, generative AI tool, because you might have some trade secrets, something inside those meetings that you don't want to share. They might be sensitive in general. And so those types of things, like keeping it kind of in the same compliance boundary is very important, especially for certain regulated businesses or industries, regions. Those are things that are real benefits to kind of keeping that AI, that engine effectively through Copilot and all the orchestration into the same compliance boundary, because otherwise, you might be, if you move it into something that doesn't have the same types of information protections or the same type of terms and conditions in terms of how that data is used, then your data might be leaking out into those other services without you knowing about it. Whereas everything within Microsoft 365 is fully compliant and it is fully auditable as well.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And to think then about where those meeting notes are being taken as well. They're being added to a Microsoft Loop file.
Mm-hmm.
The meeting notes loop files are usually stored in the OneDrive of the person who organized the meeting. So, I could go through and check those, or at least show maybe a screenshot of that as I do that in post. But that's, again, it's still in a place where everything is under the control and purview of Microsoft 365. So that's good to know.
That's right.
Yeah, well, I think there's more there, and I'll leave the links for people to check out how to set up this and make sure that you've got all the prerequisites in place to take advantage of Facilitator. One last thing that I'll do, Jeremy, is we'll just go back and see if the AI notes have actually managed to do their thing.
Okay.
They might not yet be in the recap, but I've gone back to the meeting that we held earlier. We definitely have a recording. We've got an attachment. You can scroll down and see the same notes that we took and also that AI had taken with us. So that's within the loop file. If we go into the recap, there we go. I don't think it's yet been sort of 10 or even 20 minutes since we've finished the meeting, but it looks like those AI notes have been added much faster than how they would be normally.
Yeah, because it's basically, I think it's kind of getting progress and saving progress as it goes. So there's less automation orchestration to be done post meeting like there would have been in the past when it's kind of kicking that job off once the meeting ends.
That's really smart. So I'll do a comparison a bit later to see how do these notes compare to the ones that we took, and what does it look like side by side with the loop notes that we took together with Facilitator's help. But I think this is good. It can't hurt to have a larger and wider view of what happened in the meeting and to be able to capture more of what was happening. Fantastic.
Not too
Well,
bad.
look, Jeremy, it has been quite a ride for unboxing, trying things out. But thank you so much for joining me and helping me with this. It's been really good to have you on.
Yeah, always a pleasure catching up with you. And it's probably the first time I've been on an iPad in a box. So thanks for giving me that experience. It was on my bucket list, actually.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, well, we'll see you again, Jeremy. Thanks for that. Bye for
All
now.
right, thanks, Farrell. See you around. Bye bye.